All right, so angle relationships. So first of all, you got to understand what an angle is. And so the angle is the space between two intersecting lines, and that just means two lines that cross. So the wider the space is, the bigger the angle is. There's actually two angles here. You could measure the distance from the outside of this line to the outside of that line. That's actually an angle also. Together, this angle plus the one on the outside would add up to what? X 360 degrees. All right, so we're going to look at three different angle relationships today, and then we're going to use those relationships to find missing angles in pictures. Chris, close your laptop. So there are three different ways that we can name an angle. So anybody want to guess what one way is that I could name this angle? And what I'm looking at here is I'm looking at this distance right here. No? Um, yeah, kind of. So it's not like right angles, acute angles, obtuse angles. It's different. Yeah. No. So here's what I mean. This angle right here, if I want to name it, one way I could name it is to name it angle 1. There's a 1 there. That's what I meant. The other way that I could name this angle is by using these three letters. And so I could call this angle ABC. And then the last way I could name it is I could name it angle CBA. Now, the key is this letter has to be in the middle of the name. This letter here, this point, is called the vertex. And the vertex has to be the middle letter when you're naming them. So I couldn't name this BAC or BCA. The vertex has to be the middle letter in the name. Good. Questions? All right, so now we're going to look at the relationships. So the first relationship we're going to look at is what are called vertical angles. Vertical angles are angles that are across from each other, and the reason why this relationship is important is because vertical angles are equal. So vertical angles in this picture here are angle 1 and angle 3. And those two angles are equal. So if I told you that angle 1 was 80 degrees, that means angle 3 is also 80 degrees. So again, this whole thing, Chris, take your headphones off, please. This whole thing is about finding missing angles. That's the point of this lesson. And so then angle 2 is equal to angle 4. Those are called vertical angles. So you need to know for the test, you're going to need to know what a vertical angle is, because you're going to get a question that's going to say name the vertical angles. And so you need to know that vertical angles are angles that are across from each other, and you need to know that they're equal to each other. All right, the next relationship is what are called complementary angles. And complementary angles are two angles whose sum is 90 degrees. And these normally come from taking a right angle, a 90-degree angle, and splitting it into two angles. So angle 1 plus angle 2 equals 90 degrees. Because this angle, this little box here, tells you that this is 90 degrees here. So if I told you what angle 1 was, then you could figure out what angle 2 is. Makes sense? The third relationship that we're going to look at is what are called supplementary angles. And supplementary angles are two angles whose sum is 180 degrees. Supplementary angles always come from splitting a straight line. So from here to here is 180 degrees. A straight line is always 180 degrees. So if you take a straight line and you split it into two angles, those two angles will add up to 180 degrees. So if I told you what angle 1 was, then you could figure out what angle 2 was. So we've got complementary, supplementary, and vertical angles. Those are the three angle relationships we're looking at. Good. Because they add up to 180. So if I told you that 1 was equal to 50 degrees, then you know this one's 130 because they have to add up to 180. Now, one of the biggest problems that students have in this topic is when they see this picture, they only think of vertical angles. So 1 and 3 are vertical, 2 and 4 are vertical. So if I told you what 1 was, you know what 3 is. But there are also supplementary angles in here because they're straight lines. And so angle 1 and 4 are supplementary. If I tell you what 1 is, then you know what 4 is. Because 1 plus 4 has to add up to 180 because here's a straight line. It's been split into two angles. So really, I could tell you one angle in this picture and you could figure out all the rest of them. So if I told you that angle 1 was 80 degrees, what's angle 3? 80 degrees, that's vertical. And angle 2 is 100 because, again, here's a straight line that's been split. So 1 plus 2 has to add up to 180. And since angle 2 is 100, that means angle 4 is also 100 because they're vertical. So if I tell you one angle in that picture, you should be able to find all the rest of them. Yes. Because here's a straight line, so from here to here is 180 degrees. So 1 plus 2 has to add up to 180. And 2 and 3 are also supplementary, right? And so are 3 and 4, and so are 1 and 4. So there's a few supplementary angles in there. Got it? So let's see how we're going to use this. So this is something that you'll be asked to do on the quiz or test for this. You'll be given a picture and you'll be asked to name supplementary, vertical, and complementary angles in this picture. Let's start with the vertical angles. So there are lots of vertical angles in here. Again, those are angles that are across from each other and they're equal to each other. So I'll pick one. So let's look at angle AGB. So that's this angle right here, right? AGB. What angle is vertical with angle AGB? Max? EGD, this angle, right? Isn't this angle across from that angle? So angle AGB and angle EGD are vertical. Anybody tell me another pair of vertical angles? Chris? You have to use 3 letters, and G has to be the middle letter. So FGE, okay. FGE and BGC. That would work. So that's this one and this one, right? So now there's one more pair, right? So what's the other pair? Zach? AGF and DGC. This means angle, by the way. The little less than symbol means angle. There actually are more vertical angles in here. I wouldn't think you would get them. Yeah. FGB. Okay, and what else? Wow. I don't think I've ever had anybody figure that out. She said FGB and EGC. So this is an angle, FGB. And people say, well, what about this line right here? Well, that line just cuts through that angle, but that's still an angle. An angle is the distance of between two intersecting lines. These two lines intersect, and the distance between them is FGB. Max? There is so AGC and what DGF. So there are other ones in there. These are the main ones, but you need to recognize that there are other angles besides just these small ones that you see. There are other angles in there. All right, so complementary angles, that's two angles that add up to 90. So you're looking for a right angle that's been split into two. Now, here's the biggest problem that students have with this picture is how many right angles are in this picture? There are four. There are four angles. Two angles that add up to 90. My question was, how many right angles are there in this picture? There's only one that's shown right here, right? But this line and you can do it, and this line are perpendicular with each other. They cross at a right angle. So that means there's actually four right angles in this picture. There's the one there, there's one here, there's one here, and there's one here. So there are actually four right angles in that picture. The distance from here to here is 90 degrees. Distance from here to here is 90. The distance from here to here is 90. And the distance from here to here is 90. These are vertical, right? So you know those are both 90 degrees. And then here's a straight line, right? So 90 plus 90 equals 180. But there are four right angles there. Yes. Yes, the whole thing, if you added up all the angles, would be 360. Angel, close your laptop or turn it around, one of the two. All right, so name a pair of complementary angles, two angles that add up to 90. So one pair of complementary angles would be AGF and angle EGF. They have to add up to get 90. It's not two angles. Chris, take your headphones off. Take your headphones off. No, AGF is not a right angle. AGE is a right angle. From here to here adds up to 90. So it's two angles that add up to 90. Zach? Yes. BGC and DGC. So that's here to here. Those two angles together add up to 90, and these two angles together add up to 90. So there are 4 right angles in that picture. That's one of the biggest issues that students have in this topic is recognizing that there's 4 right angles in that picture. Yeah. Say that again. I didn't understand what you're. Okay. All right. So now the piece that is the hardest in this is coming up with supplementary angles. If you're looking for supplementary angles, you're looking for 2 angles that add up to 180. So what you're looking for is a straight line, and you got to split it into 2 angles. How many straight lines are in this picture? There's 3 straight lines in the picture. AGD, this straight line, EGB, this straight line, and FGC, this straight line. There's 3 straight lines. So if you're going to find supplementary angles, the first thing you need to do is find a straight line. And you can pick any straight line you want. It doesn't matter which one you choose here. So I'll pick this straight line here. Now I need to make my way from one side over to the other side using 2 angles. Using 2 angles, I got to make my way from one side to the other. So let's start with this angle. Angle EGF. Now I need an angle that will take me the rest of the way over to here, right? Because from here to here is 180 degrees. So the angle that would get me the rest of the way is this angle right here. And what angle is that? FGB or BGF? Either one. You can name it either way. So those 2 angles, this angle plus this angle, add up to 180 degrees. So you want to start with a straight line and go from one side to the other side using 2 angles. I just picked EGF. Yeah. So go EGA, so from here to here. Yeah, so I could have gone EGA. That would get me there, right? Angle. There are lots of answers to this question. EGA and no, and then I got to get the rest of the way around. So BGA or AGB. That's what you said, right? I could also do this on the other side of the line, right? So I could do EGD gets me to there, right? EGD. And then what angle would get me the rest of the way around? BGD. This angle right here. So you just have to make your way from one side to the other side using 2 angles. Now I could pick a different straight line and do the same thing, right? No, it's only 2 angles. Why do you say technically it's 4 angles? So what are you confused about? How many degrees is it from here to here? Okay. So let's say this angle right here is 30 degrees. So that's my first angle, right? EGF. Now I need to get the rest of this, right? So I took care of this piece of the line. Now I need the rest of this line, right? I got that piece. Now I need this piece. Doesn't this piece plus this piece add up to 180? This piece right here is angle FGB. That's what that is. It goes from this line to that line, FGB. And to, yeah, you just take any 180 degree angle. So I don't know, I've never thought of it this way, but so if I take let's see, let's do this one. So from here to here is 180, right? So then I just need to split that up into two pieces. Any two pieces I want. So I could split it up into this piece, right? And this piece. And wouldn't those two pieces add up to 180? Right? So this piece right here is BGC. This piece right here is FGB. So you're just taking a 180 degree angle and splitting it into two pieces. That's all. All right. So using that information, if I tell you one angle in this picture, we can find all the other angles. Again, the key with this is how many right angles are in this picture? 4. There's 4 right angles in this picture. There's the one pictured here that they give you. There's also one here, and there's one here, and there's one here. So there's 4 right angles in this picture. So they gave us angle EGF. So that's this one right here, it's 35 degrees. And they want us to find all the rest of them. So who can tell me another angle in that picture? Tell me any angle you want. Matthias? Okay, how much is BGC? Yeah, so this angle and this angle are vertical, right? So Matthias said this one's also 35 degrees because they're across from each other. So that's why we need to learn the angle relationships and know that those are vertical. Max? So Max said FGA is 55. How did he figure that out? Because this is a 90 degree angle right here. So if this is 35, 90 minus 35 tells you that this one is 55. So that's complementary angles. So we've used vertical and we've used complementary. Zach. AGB is 90. That's the easy one, right? Because they told us. They gave us that box right there. Yeah. Yeah. So DGC is also 55 because it's vertical with that one. And it's also complementary with that one. So these two add up to 90. And these two are across from each other. And then there's only one more left. And that one's 90 also. Yes. No, because I just made up these numbers and it's not actually drawn to scale. We won't be using protractors. So questions on that? All right, one other thing I meant to say here. If you added all these up, what do they add up to? 360. They add up to 360. The last piece here is that the angles in a triangle always add up to 180. So in a triangle, I can give you 2 angles and you have to find the missing one because they add up to 180. The one that people always forget when they have a question like this is they forget about this angle Remember that one's 90 degrees. That's what the box is telling you. So 45 plus 45 plus 90 would add up to 180 degrees. So that's just a fact that you need to know. Questions? All right, so there's 2 assignments in Google Classroom